My name is Harry. I'm an acrylic and oil painter based in Edinburgh. I've lived here for about 6 years, but I grew up in Wales to my Jamaican mum and my British dad. I've been painting forever, but only kind of taken it seriously just pre-lockdown. I actually went through a patch of pretty rubbish mental health and found that painting was pretty much the only thing that I could do that gave me any sense of sanity. So all of my paintings have a little bit of my madness and a little bit of my sanity in them. But predominantly I paint faces. I'm really interested in what makes people look the same and what makes people look different. So everything that I create, I start with the basis of complete symmetry. I work on square canvases and I measure all of these faces out so that they're exactly the same on both sides. And from there, stuff kind of evolves. There's a lot of animals and flowers in my work as well. I tend to give my subjects animals or flowers that I feel represent them in their personalities or their characters. I do a lot of commissions, but primarily when it's coming to my original work, I like to paint women, particularly women of colour that have been somewhat neglected by history. So recent ones that I've done have been of people like Josephine Baker, who was this amazing queer black woman from the 20s who moved to Paris and became one of the highest paid burlesque dancers and then joined the French resistance during the Second World War. And Joanne Little, who I've just completed, who was the first woman to be acquitted for murder as she was defending herself against a white prison guard. She was a black woman who'd been arrested, and I've given them flowers that I think represent them. Joanne's got dandelions growing out of her hair to symbolise strength and freedom. Big, bold colours and big, bold people. That's what I like. I also work in theatre. I'm the newly appointed EDI associate at the Lyceum. So that stands for Equality, Diversity and Inclusivity. I've done a lot of freelance and consultancy around that sort of work before. I've worked in theatre for a decade, but have kind of naturally fallen into representation and inclusivity work because I sit at a kind of neat intersection of a lot of identities personally as a queer woman of colour. So my day-to-day job is all about inclusive access and trying to improve the landscape of theatre so that we have better representation across the board and more meaningful representation across the board. So it's not just a matter of performative identities being presented on stage within the bracket of trauma, but also putting underrepresented people at different stages in the decision-making process. It's about providing access to education to young people who might not have otherwise considered working in the arts. It's about ensuring that people with mental health needs or neurodiversity are effectively served from the application process all the way through to board representation and senior management. So it's about physically getting people in the room, but then making them confident and safe enough to speak to their truth and their lived experience, and creating an environment that allows for the space for them to be effectively heard. So yeah, my big dream is to see the theatre that feels a little bit more like the world that I see and the art that I love in my day-to-day life. So fingers crossed.